Welcome to the Build Your Beautiful Business podcast with your host, Julie C. Butler. If you're looking to build the business of your dreams, then this is the space you want to be in. Join Julie as she talks about ways that you can successfully scale your profitable dream business, one that will give you ultimate time freedom and the abundant lifestyle you deserve. Julie will take you by the hand, sharing with you her business savvy strategies as she chats it up with her favorite online entrepreneurs. You'll get a weekly dose of boosted confidence as you learn as they reveal their insight, tips, and tools that you need to start building a profitable dream business of your own, one that you'll love and that works for you on autopilot.
Hello, welcome back to the BBB podcast. I'm your host, Julie C. Butler. Today, we have the beautiful Kylie Van Luyn on the podcast with us. Kylie is an experienced executive coach and consultant with over 14 years of experience coaching and working with women from diverse backgrounds. Kylie is passionate about improving the workspace experience for women and creating inclusive and supportive environments for women to thrive in their careers. Kylie is the founder of Elevated Coaching and Consulting Global and has designed multiple women's careers and mindset coaching programs that are currently delivered across the US and Australia to empower women from diverse backgrounds on their journey to success. Kylie is an accredited psychotherapist, emotional intelligence coach, NLP master practitioner, and founding member of the International Strategic Psychotherapists Association. Kylie was a 2019 Australian State Businesswomen's Award finalist in the For Purpose and Social Enterprise category for her work empowering women from refugee backgrounds across Australia. In 2022, Elevated Coaching and Consulting was named an Australian State finalist in the Outstanding Startup category. In March 2023, Kylie was named one of the top 10 influential female entrepreneurs by WOML. And in September 2023, Kylie was named as a Women of Influence Award nominee for her work empowering women on their career journey. Hello, today we have the beautiful, it's Kylie, right?
It's Kylie, yeah, like Kylie Minogue.
Kylie all the way from Australia, but actually as at the time of our recording is in Montreal, and you've moved to the United States now. Is it temporary or is it permanent?
It's permanent, yeah. We're on a
Permanent.
four-year visa, yeah.
4-year visa. Okay, so we have Kylie from Australia living in the United States for the next little while. So anyway, the point is, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm so happy to meet you. And today, at this time, you are experiencing the snow that I would have been in had I stayed in Canada, but instead I have palm trees and behind me.
Yeah, I keep watching it's such a novelty as an Australian, right? Having, snow forecast. We get snow in Australia, but not in Sydney, where I'm from. So I'm like a little kid at the moment in Montreal, checking the weather every day, seeing if there's going to be snow before I head back to the United States.
and then maybe, I don't know if it's probably Christmas markets. They probably have started.
Yeah, across the road. Yeah, across the road from where I'm staying. They're starting to put up the little Christmas market there and the
nice
little trees. So I'm eagerly awaiting that so I can wander around at nighttime with
I
my
know. So maybe this evening you can go out, take a stroll in the little bits of snow. And well, I don't know if the market's open at all or what times it is at or anything like that. But anyway, so I will let you have the minus 10 degrees or whatever it is. And yeah, but I'm not going to lie. It is nice at Christmas time. It is nice to have the snow at Christmas time. And it definitely puts you in the mood for putting your Christmas tree up and going Christmas shopping and all the things, right? I'm trying to figure out here in 30-degree weather how I'm going to get in the mood, but maybe I'll have to watch some Hallmark movies.
You might have to watch an Australian Hallmark movie. You put some tinsel in your palm tree there.
Yes, definitely. There's Australia. I guess there would be Australia Hallmark movies.
Oh yeah, there's some.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure of the names of any Hallmark movies, but there's definitely a couple of Australian Christmas themed movies. I think there's one called The
Yes.
Nutcracker that you might find pretty funny, and it's all
Oh,
about
okay.
that whole family dynamics, the Australian family dynamics on Christmas at Christmas time on Christmas Day. And so
Ooh,
yeah, there's the backyard pool and popping a shrimp on the barbie and all those things that we heard from
fun.
Crocodile Dundee,
All right, good
which
old Crocodile Dundee. Oh my God. That ages us, Kylie.
it does, yeah.
Uh, well, I'm so happy to have you on the show. Before we get started, I want to talk today, like we're going to talk about finding your why or your purpose and, as female entrepreneurs. But before we get started, I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell the listeners a little bit more about yourself.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me, Julie. This has been so fun already. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm Kylie. I'm the founder of Elevated Coaching and Consulting Global. I started the company a little over almost 2.5 years ago, actually, in Australia, and then we expanded into the US last June, and we moved a little over 4 months ago. So it's been a big and busy journey since launching the company that 2 years ago. My background professionally before launching the company was in the nonprofit space. So I did a lot of work as an executive supporting migrants and refugees on their journey to employment. Lots and lots of work with women from all backgrounds and all cultures. Again, predominantly looking at that employment or career journey for women. And I've done a lot of work with people living with the disability too. So my purpose in launching Elevated was to support nonprofits strategically with their, oh gosh, person-centered programs and grant writing and how they can be sustainable as well as being person-centered. And then we do a lot of work on the coaching side of the business with individuals, but also with leaders and teams around how to create more diverse, inclusive, and psychologically safe workplaces, not just for women, but for all
Mhm.
people. So really looking at all employees and how teams and leaders in particular can develop their skills around emotional intelligence, but also their awareness around psychological safety when it comes to what kind of workplace they want to create for their staff.
That's amazing. And I know that, probably the people listening to this episode, or if you're listening in, we're kind of like we maybe at the beginning phases of, launching our business, or maybe we've been in business for a few years and stuff. And I hope that our episode maybe can reach those women who want to start a business, or who maybe don't know what they could do, and that, this episode can help you in some way. Because I think that every single woman on the planet has something to give, has a gift, and is extraordinary and amazing. And I think there's enough room for every single one of us to have our dreams become a reality. So no matter where you are sitting today, or what your life looks like, I think that, we can all achieve greatness. So
Absolutely.
thanks again. Like I'm happy to have you here and have this conversation with you. Um, so yeah. So okay, well, let's start in. So how can we empower women in the workplace and support their career progression and access to professional development opportunities? So I think, like, professional development is so important in growth period, right? Like whether you want to grow as a person, or if you want to grow in business. And so yeah, I think that's so important.
Oh, absolutely. And I think a lot of the work that we do, not just with women, either in the coaching, when we're coaching women,
Mm-hmm.
when we're coaching teams of women, or when we're working with executives and CEOs around sort of their workplace culture and the types of leaders that they want to be, to attract more women to their workforce, but also to retain the women that they have got, that because they're all, you want to retain the talent that you have. a lot of the work that we do with women is around confidence. And so all of our programs that either we design and facilitate, or that we design in partnership with others, whether it be nonprofits or corporates, we always start from a place of empowerment. And like I said earlier, we do a lot of work still to this day in the US and in Australia, and now the UK, which is great, working with women from migrant and refugee backgrounds. And when you think of the trauma and the lived experience that those women have and that they bring to the table, we always have to start with at a place of empowerment and looking at, where is their mindset? How do they view themselves? Because you can offer as many professional development programs as an employer, or as an individual, like as a woman, you can go off and do a lot of training and study and professional development. But if your mindset is still not there, and you're not, in a growth mindset, and you've got a bunch of limiting beliefs and negative self-talk holding you back, or just fear holding you back from what your professional potential might be, whether that's, stepping into a leadership role or a promotion, or taking the leap and starting your own company, it all starts from that place of confidence and how you, perceive yourself and what your own self-worth looks like. Yeah.
And I think that's key. Like I know that sometimes we sit there and we're going through whatever it is that we're going through, and it's different for every single one of us. Sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just like, the way our brain works, right? Like, it's so important to gain the confidence, right? And so moving to a place of where we can have more of that positive self-talk, where we can believe more in dreams, right? Like, have dreams but believe that they can become reality. And how would you say, like, if someone, because you've done this and you continue to do this, like someone that, because sometimes it happens to every single one of us, like something happens, and like even me moving to another country, like I had my self-confidence stuff, like, I'm sure you went through it too when you moved to the United States, right? And how do we get over that hump of being like, okay, stop this thinking and let's move into thinking about the good and the positive and the beauty that come out of this, or how can we, not convert, but change our mindset into thinking about these positive, beautiful things, right? Because sometimes I figure, and I think that I'm not the only one, like I'm sure that people are listening to this thinking the same thing, like, how do we move over that hump?
Well, you're right, it did happen, and I didn't expect myself to experience that when we moved to the States, because you go through your training. I'm an NLP master practitioner and psychotherapist. I do an emotional intelligence coach. So you think maybe from coming from a place of ego or whatever, ignorance perhaps as well, that I didn't even think about that moving to another country. I was more worried about setting the house up, getting the office set up, starting to build my team in the US. And you don't realize that there's a whole culture shock thing that comes along with moving to a different country, and you're out of your depth and your comfort zone, essentially, because being at home, you're comfortable and it's familiar. And I did struggle for a good couple of weeks. The first 8 weeks are really difficult moving to another country, sometimes longer for people. So for me, it was sitting down and going, okay, like almost coaching myself, saying, why are you not uncomfortable? Why are these limiting beliefs popping back up? Why are you starting to have that fear of, oh my goodness, maybe I won't make it here. Maybe the business won't be successful here. Those are some scary thoughts when your whole family's moved to the other side of the world. And for me, it was sitting down and using my training as a psychotherapist and a lot of NLP too, and sitting there and saying, Kylie, what evidence do you have that proves that the worst you're thinking is going to actually eventuate? What's the evidence? Because this is what I do with my coaching clients, all my beautiful women. I sit there, and when they're saying, oh, I'm going for this promotion, I've got the interview tomorrow, but I just don't think I'm going to get it. That imposter syndrome. There's got to be more qualified women than me. And they start to talk themselves out of the opportunity. their self-confidence goes right down, and they step into that interview and they don't present well. They're not on their A game. And so for me, it was using a lot of those techniques and strategies to say, okay, well, where's the evidence to actually show that, it's likely that you're going to fail here? And then doing the opposite and sitting there and going, Kylie, where's the evidence to show that it's likely you're going to be successful here? And it was, for me, I'm a real visual person, like a lot of people. So I wrote it down. I kept a journal, and I still do to this day, a daily diary entry. And I look back 4 months and think, whoa, you weren't in the best space when you first moved. You're really having that doubt and fear creep in. And you have to dig deep and find that courage and say, no, I've got a lot of evidence based on my entire career that actually shows I'm going to nail this opportunity. I'm going to make this successful. I'm going to go off and get that job, or I'm going to start this company, and it's going to be amazing. And we're going to have huge social impact all across the world. And 4 months in, I've been blown away by just the amazing opportunities and partnerships we've been able to create, because I'm leading from the front with the right mindset.
Leading from the front. I love that. And I always used to talk about this too. Like when you're leading from a place of gratitude and a place from abundance, only usually good comes out of it, right? But where we're leading from a place of lack, or, like not enough confidence, that's what shows up, right? And that's what comes like, not to go all woo woo on our conversation, but that stuff really, it really exists, right? And so being aware that our thoughts create our reality is so important when it comes to things like this. And like it's no not secret, but it's no wonder, or there's a reason for every time you join a course or you join a program or you hire a coach to work with you, mindset is one of the first things that you touch on, right? For a reason. And I think that it can really make or break your success in life and in business, right?
100%. Yeah, 100%. Every program that we run, whether it's in the US, whether it's in Australia, the very first component is around positive psychology, mindset, and confidence. Because if you're not starting from a really open growth mindset, and you don't have that high energy, right, that attracts those amazing opportunities in and attracts people to want to work with you or whatever it is, then you're not laying the right foundation. So you're 100% correct there.
So I think that, would you agree that, working on our mindset and all that good stuff, doing the work, it would be so helpful to figure out what our why is. And actually, I think this is the first time I speak about this on the podcast, because that can truly drive us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I found so much more abundance, and not just abundance financially in the business, but and starting the business was that pivotal moment when I finally sat down and was honest with myself and did the work to really uncover and discover what my core values were, to then lead me to really lean in and discover my purpose and jump headfirst into what I believed that was going to be and what would serve me in meaningful, purposeful work. And that was launching the company.
Now, figuring out what our purpose is, it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing that you think you're going to change the lives of thousands and thousands of people, right? Like, I think like me, sometimes I'm like, oh, like, am I touching enough lives, right? Like imposter syndrome, I swear, at every single level, right? So how can we start to figure out what our why or our purpose is, what it could look like how do we move into the direction of figuring that out?
Well, for me, it was looking at what sets my soul on fire. Like what are the things professionally I've done for my career? So I looked back over the last 14 years and thought, what are the things that when you're doing more of those things, you're operating up here. You're so excited and driven. And although you might be working really long days, you don't feel tired because you're so aligned to what you feel, really fulfilled professionally and personally. And so for me, the first step was really looking at those things. And then it was looking at, what am I really good at? Well, typically you're really good at those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Luckily. And then looking at, how can I align those strengths, the things that set my soul on fire, with my vocation or my profession? How can I possibly create something when I'm thinking about my business, my company, where I can get paid to spend 90 to 95% of my time doing not only the things I'm good at, but also the things that really excite me and tick that box for me when it comes to, fulfillment and alignment. So those were a couple of things that I did, because we spend so much of our time at work. We don't want to be doing things we have to do or that we hate doing, because then, there could be a whole other podcast on the impact of mental health and things like that. But for me, it was really sitting down and being honest with myself. And I was at the beach, had a time off work and going through a really rough time in my last job. And I thought, I'm miserable. And there was a bunch of reasons that I knew why, but I thought, if I was working in an area where I felt really connected again, what would that look like? And what are those things that really set my soul on fire and get me excited? But before that, I really, as I went through my NLP Master Practitioner training, I did a really long exercise around discovering what my core values were. And at the time I thought, I know what my core values are. They're family and they're this and that, and all the things that essentially we've been not programmed to believe are our core values, but we, particularly as women, think that they should be our core values. But when I sat down and did the exercise and really unpacked it over hours and then the days following, what I realized was the reason I was finding friction in my in my professional life and my work at the time, was because my highest core value was freedom. And I didn't have any freedom at the time. And my second core value was connection. Third was purpose. And so they weren't there anymore. I was doing similar work, but I was too disconnected from the human element. So I had to think about, how do I create something that allows me to do all of that day in and day out? And that's where
Mm-hmm.
I came to creating what we do at Elevated.
I love that. And it's so important, right? Like I was talking, I had another interview before Kylie and I started chatting, and we talked about just that, like, doing what you love doing. It's we only have one life to live,
Yeah.
right? We're only going to live once. So, and we are 1000% responsible for the what our life looks like now. So why wouldn't you, right? Do the work now, figure out, what that looks like for you, what your purpose is, and move toward that direction. Why wouldn't we do that, right? I think that we can all have it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the excitement, something just to add there, is what I found was doing work that I love every day and it being so aligned to me. For me, it's making a difference and helping other people reach their full potential, whether that's teams, individuals, or companies.
Mm-hmm.
For me, what I realized was, because I was so aligned and in flow with my purpose and what fulfills me, that I brought that energy to every single interaction, every single meeting, every coaching connection. And what happens is, when you're bringing that energy and that love of what you do to every interaction in your business or company, or in your work, if you're still an employee, you start to have all these opportunities flow in, because people want to work with you, because that people naturally gravitate towards that energy, right? They want to
Mm.
work with people who are passionate about what they do. So the values alignment with my clients now has been phenomenal.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And so yeah, I mean, there's going to be challenges, and there's going to be some of the stuff, like when we start, Kylie, right? Like, I mean, sometimes we're me, myself, and I, like we're, like the one person, a one man show, and we have to wear all the hats. And so, but if you would continue going in the direction of, what our purpose is truly, then we can start hiring a VA, and we can start having like these different people fill in those positions or do the jobs that we don't particularly care to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Delegate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because
Delegate. We get to the
yeah.
delegation part. We do. We really do. So okay, so what if we're like lacking motivation or direction? Like, how can we kind of like, because I mean, we all go through it, right? Like, I'm sure maybe you went through it even when you moved, right? Like, we're kind of like, or at Christmas time, right? Like, we're like, my brain shuts off for a couple of weeks. And after that, it's like, oh my God, it's like finding that, that motivation again and that direction. Like, how, what is your tip to kind of like sit down and be like, I am excited and I'm going to get some work done? Like,
Yeah. Well, it did happen. I'm the same as you. I'm working so hard at the moment, and we have this year so that we can have a nice break. We've got family coming to the US,
mm-hmm,
and yeah, back come January, it'll be like, oof, okay, this is a shock to the system. We've got to get going again. But it was like that when we moved because you're starting over. You're establishing your life and your home and your family and your business all at once in a new country. For me, it was small daily habits that saved me. It really did. And it because I need structure and routine, because I recognize how important it is to maintain the mindset that I know I need to run the business and to be the best mum and wife and leader that I have to be and that I can be. But for me, it was daily habits. And this is also something that I say to my coaching clients, people that are on a weight loss journey or starting a business. It's you have to be really clear and intentional about what your goals are. They have to be realistic too, as well. It's saying you're going to make $1 million in 3 months might be a stretch. Um, good luck if those people are out there. Took a little bit longer for me. um,
yeah,
but for me it's really setting daily habits. So it's for me it's establishing a really good morning routine. Like I get up early, I make sure I move my body, um, have my workout, do my walk with my husband and our dog. It sounds like really minute things, but those minute things equal really big changes, and they create structure in your day. And when you have good daily habits, consistency as well, then it creates that structure that you need to succeed and have direction in whatever you're trying to achieve. But I would say
mm-hmm.
the first place to start is be really clear about what you're trying to achieve, like daily, and don't be afraid to say no to things that aren't serving that goal, because
Yes, that's so important.
we get lost in the minutia of saying yes to everything.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently, I've become very good at saying no. Sorry, it's not.
We
It's
have
not.
to.
It's not serving our. Your
Yeah.
bigger goal. You can't get distracted.
And it's not serving you and it's not serving your big goal. So, having boundaries put in place, it's like so important. And, I think baby steps, if, you're still kind of like, oh my God, like I need better boundaries, baby steps. And then
Yeah.
we get really good at it. I think that we really, but, I think maybe mostly as women, we feel that we need to say yes, but we don't have to, right?
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
really important for your
Uh,
sanity.
yeah. Well, I heard actually just this morning I was listening to this gentleman speak, and he said that over 85% of patients with autoimmune diseases globally now are women. And he said the reason, and the research backs this, is because women are always thinking and putting others before themselves. So they're putting the emotional needs and the needs of others before their own needs, to their own detriment.
Yep.
And it's resulting in a lot of health issues, not just physical health, but mental health issues for women, because we're raised typically to do that, to be selfless
Mm-hmm.
and to put the needs of our children and our partners and our family before ourselves. But You know, it's like when you jump on an airplane, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you can help
Mm-hmm.
somebody else. So I use that
Mm-hmm.
analogy a lot. You have to really look at your own self-care before you can give to others. You can't pour from an empty cup.
No, I love that. And going back to what we started with, the whole mindset bit, you have to work like permission to be selfish
Yeah.
and do some of the things that are for you,
Yeah.
not serving everybody else. You know, sometimes we have busy lives if we have children, small children, whatever that is for you. I think that we all can find in the nooks and crannies of the day some time that we can take to work on ourselves. Like, you know what I used to do, Kylie? I used to just have a bath. Like I would like my bath every day was like I would go and escape and just chill in the bath. I can't really hear. No, like Costa Rica homes for some reason don't really, not a lot of them have bathtubs. And the ones, there's 3 in this house and they don't work. So I'm like, as if.
No baths for you,
So,
Julie.
right. So I'm like, okay, well, when we build a house, bathtub is the first thing I'm putting in.
Yeah.
No, but I think that no matter who we are and where we are, we can all find it in, it's a matter of, like when people say, I don't have time, I'm too busy. And I think that's baloney because I think that it's a priority. What's a
Yeah.
priority to you? And working on ourselves, whether it's your mindset, your healthcare, I mean, I think it's a package deal. It has to start with that. It has to start with you. Because if you start there, and you're truly in love with the person you are and the human that you are, and you have the confidence in it, that's just going to reflect on everything else you do and on all the people around you, right?
Yeah. You can give and be so much more when you're
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing your own health and
Mm-hmm.
well-being. And
Mm-hmm.
I call it a non-negotiable. There's some non-negotiables, and I know it's really, really hard for women with little children. I've been there. My daughter's, 15 and a half now. So it's easier to communicate to a younger young adult that, hey, this is my time. This is why mum needs this time. Because I'm
Mm-hmm.
also trying to role model to her as a young woman now, this is okay to set time aside for yourself. She's a big bath person too, my daughter. She's 2 hours in the bath. I'm like, God, our hot water bill goes through the roof. But I'm trying to role model for her that it's really, really important to prioritize your own self and your health and
Mm-hmm.
well-being, and that it's okay to have boundaries and non-negotiables, even with family members, and say, hey, mum's just taking an hour out. The world's not going to end if I'm not in the house or I'm in the bath or I'm at the gym or going for a walk. You'll be fine. I think they're really healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then saying no to, if someone here's the way I look at it. If you're being asked for help and you're already resenting it, that's usually usually a sign, a good sign that you probably should say no, because either it's going to stretch you and or you're not going to be happy, doing it, or whatever the case might be. I mean, obviously there's a line there between different kinds of help we're being asked to do, and but when it comes to business, same thing, right? Like how often do we say yes, or we give, information or whatever when we should be charging for it, or
Oh, yeah.
right? Like same things happen in business. And so don't be afraid to set those boundaries. Don't be afraid to say, no, I can't commit to this. My plate is full. No, I can't. I'm not recording any more podcast interviews. I've had my limit for 2023. I'll start recording them again in January, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such a good point because that's a lesson a really steep learning curve for me. As a human being, I was a people pleaser. I am, those people pleasing anonymous. My name's Kylie. I'm a people pleaser. Not anymore. Because I would say yes to everything. And even when I
Mhm.
started the business, it took me a while to realize that I'm the leader. I can say no. I can set boundaries and partner with who I want to partner with and say yes to the work I want to and no to work that doesn't align with our mission and values here at Elevated. But it took a while because my whole thing was I want to be great. I have to be grateful. And I was raised that way as well, is be grateful for people that, want to work with you and trust you and all of those things. And what I realized is you just burn yourself out and then you
Mhm.
can't serve the people that you want to serve. So for me, it has been a learning curve to say, no, either that's actually not work that, or this partnership it's just not aligned. I don't think it would work. They're not easy conversations to have, but they become easier and you really become better at having those conversations and
Mhm.
not over analyzing them. You have the conversation and you move on.
Yeah.
You don't sit there and over analyze and think, oh, that person doesn't like me anymore, or I have conversations that are pretty
And it's
difficult
not
and I move on.
personal.
No, that's it. It's not personal, it's
Not
business.
personal. It's business. And so um I was talking to someone the other day, and I can't remember if it was my coach. I think maybe it was my coach. And we were talking about this, having boundaries. And sometimes you can set boundaries without doing the work yourself. Like, for example, in a auto response email, you can
Mm,
set boundaries in there, right? Oh, if you're contacting me about being a speaker at my summit, sorry, but I'm full at this moment. Or if you're contacting me about being a guest on the podcast, I am not currently taking more interviews, right? So you don't actually have to say no. The auto
yeah,
response says it for you. Like, how
yeah,
amazing is that, right? That there's little things that you can do or put in place that will answer those questions for you, and you don't have to do it. And so you're eliminating some of those talks, I guess, those
yeah,
chats.
yeah.
Hmm.
And you don't have to sit there, Julie, and write to 12 people saying, sorry, I'm not recording my podcast.
Exactly. Exactly.
You can just get on with
Exactly.
doing all the awesome things that you
Yeah,
do,
yeah,
not
yeah,
having to
yeah,
spend time
yeah.
doing that.
Yeah. But like that's the thing with like once you're doing your business and we start showing up a little bit more, being a guest on podcasts or in summits and stuff like that, we start getting more invitations, right? To be speakers at different things. And so to a point where it's like, oh my God, like I've got like 5 emails I gotta reply to. But if it was in my auto responded email, then I wouldn't have to worry about it.
That's exactly it. Oh my
Hmm.
goodness. This will be the first year I actually put an out of office on over Christmas. Because last year, although we were traveling, we were actually in Montreal for Christmas and then in the
Hmm.
US for the new year. I was writing a book and I still felt compelled and I was still, servicing clients and things, but my daughter and my husband, like, we're on the other side of the world. Like, are you going to have a break? I remember sitting in Washington, D.C. in the hotel, still drafting my final draft for the book. Um, and now I look back and think, why didn't I just put some boundaries around that? You can't get that time with your family back. Your
No,
kids grow. Your family, it's in the grand scheme of things, a couple of weeks is nothing. So this year I'm
no.
like, 16th of December, I'll see you on the 7th of January.
That's
I'm checking
awesome. I
out.
think I'm going to do the same thing. I
Yeah.
usually have the 24 to 48 hours thing, but you know what? My brain automatically it shuts down. It's like, nope, you're not working. So
Yeah.
so I don't anyway, but so we learn as we go, right? Like these little things we can put into practice. So Kylie, this has been such a great conversation, and you have an amazing. Well, before I talk, because you have an awesome freebie for everybody, the complimentary coaching session with Kylie, which is incredible, and I'll let you tell everybody what that is in a minute. But you just said that you were writing a book, so is
And you
your
just
book?
wrote one too, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
know, I know, I know. And actually, I just yesterday got copies of it because in Costa Rica I couldn't order it, and it was a little bit more complicated. And my son came back to from Canada yesterday with 5 copies in his suitcase, and I'm like, gimme, gimme, gimme. And so I'm like,
That's
oh damn,
brilliant.
it looks so good. But tell us about your book.
So I was a co-author on a book called Eight Elements of Great Leadership, and it's around the key elements of leadership that will be required, not just for current leaders, but for future leaders, looking into the future around what are those leadership skills that are going to be needed to be an
Hmm.
effective, successful leader in the future. And I co-authored that book, and I wrote a chapter on how emotional intelligence in leadership drives success. So it goes back to, I guess, my experience as a leader, my observations of other leaders that I've experienced, good and bad and in between, but also a lot of my study into leadership and leadership styles and psychology and things, and how it all ties into those leaders that we've experienced in all of our careers that we think were just amazing, and really sort of doing a bit of a deep dive into those differences, I guess, and those things that differentiate really amazing, successful, effective leaders from those poor leaders that we see that unfortunately foster pretty toxic, psychologically unsafe workplaces. So yeah, it's on Amazon. It was released April. It feels like at
April.
least a year ago. Yeah, but it was April
Yeah.
this year, I guess, because so much has happened since the book
Hmm.
launched. But yeah, I'll be looking to author my own book next year. That's a goal next year, is to knuckle down and do something be a little different, I think. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm excited. That's a goal. I'm looking at my diary going, when's that gonna happen, Kylie?
That's awesome. I
2024.
love it. Yeah, yeah. So I'll get the link from you because I'll put that in the show notes if everybody wants to grab that copy of your book. Well, the co-author book. What would you call it? Do you call it your book? Is it still
Yeah,
your book?
yeah, it's our
Yeah,
book. Yeah,
your
myself
book.
and seven other authors. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Co-authored books. I think that's amazing that you can put that together. Like I
Yeah.
never knew it was a thing until a few years ago. I'm like, that's so cool. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can each leverage each other's, different perspectives and
Yes.
experiences, and I learned a lot through the
Expertise.
process. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're open-minded,
Expertise.
you can learn so much
Yeah,
from other people.
absolutely. I love it. I love it. And so, Kylie, you're so amazing that you are giving our listeners a complimentary coaching session with Kylie. So, tell us during this session, first of all, how long of a session is it?
It'll be an hour. So typically
Wow.
all our sessions are an hour, coaching.
Hmm.
But it's, it's in the spirit of the holidays. We're coming up for Thanksgiving this week. Well, in the States,
Hmm.
coming up for Thanksgiving, but it's also the holidays. And I recognize that people, although it's a festive, happy time, or so the commercials would and shops would have us believe, but a lot of people struggle at this time of year. People are without
Hmm.
family, or they're away from family, or they have strange family dynamics. So yeah, it's in the spirit of that, and I guess the spirit of giving.
Hmm.
But it's
So, what can we get out of our session with you?
well, it'll be all around mindset, because that's where we
Hmm.
start all of our programs. Is the foundation of where are you currently sitting in your mind. And a lot of people don't even think about that until they're asked the
Hmm.
question, or forced to ask the question. But usually we typically start with, where are you now? And where do you want to be? And what's holding you back? They're the three questions we start with.
I love
And
it.
we go in whatever direction the client needs to go in. It's amazing
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
tangents we go, all the way back to childhood often.
I
um,
know it's amazing, but and sometimes, oftentimes, we cannot answer those questions by ourselves. Sometimes we need like the help of you, for example, helping us really you know help us being honest with ourselves and digging deep into figuring out what those things are, right? So
yeah.
that's amazing. So I have the link for that in the show notes. So if you're listening and you want to grab one of those sessions with Kylie, make sure you go and grab the link for that in the show notes. And well, it's been so amazing talking to you. So, Kylie, tell us. We know you have a book, but so if someone is really like, "Oh my God, Kylie's amazing," because you are, where can they find you, and how can we work with you? Like, I know now we have that coaching session, but and plus we have the book. So, how can we work with you?
So we've got our website. We're actually about to launch our redesigned website in a week. So
Ooh.
I know, I'm so excited. It's been like a good 7 months in the works. Um, Yeah, so it's a 2.0, but our website is elevatedconsulting.net. People can find us there and check out the work we do in our consulting arm, but also in our coaching programs. And I'm also on LinkedIn. and
Mhm,
Instagram as well, if people want to find me there and sort of check
mhm.
out some of the work that we do.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, I recommend everybody come and follow you. And also, we can probably follow your journey of, from Australia to the United States to Montreal in the next week and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah, it's been a journey. It's all documented. That's the thing I love about social media is it's almost if you it can be a bit of a journal. I scroll
Mhm.
through Instagram sometimes and think that was happening a year ago. Wow.
Yeah, I
So
know.
it's great. I
That's
love it.
awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much again for being on the show. It's been so great talking to you and getting to know you better.
Thanks so much for having me, Julie. It's been a blast. Enjoy your warm Costa Rica Christmas too.
I know.
I'll send you some snaps
Amazing.
from
Sounds
hopefully
good.
snowy Northern Virginia.
Okay, sounds good. And the Christmas markets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Well, if you're listening to this, I will talk to you on the next episode.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Build Your Beautiful Business podcast. If you did, please make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Julie's included a link in the shows to make it nice and easy for you. And if you want to create a beautiful, profitable business of your own, make sure to go unlock your access to Julie's 6 must-have resources for female entrepreneurs. These resources will help you build and grow your business with simplicity and ease. You can find them at juliecbutler.com/freebie vault. We'll see you in the next episode.